Hello, this is Jan from JC Web Tech, and today I want to show you how to add these simple interactions when you are hiding or showing stuff after clicking on certain elements on your Elementor website. This is not only fun to build, but also helps the conversion of your website because the visitors start to interact with your website and then they are more likely to subscribe or buy your product, etc. No plugin is required. We will be using very simple jQuery code, and I will really try to explain it so that you will be able to understand it and modify it to your needs of building something similar but very different. Adding this small amount of code has no impact to your website's performance. Uh, and this is mostly idea of all of my videos, and I will be also coming up with a video about how to build fast Elementor website that should be quite unique among YouTube. I will not only be talking about setting up a caching plugin, etc., but I will focus on how to design an Elementor website for speed from the ground up, what to watch out when building it, and how to remove unnecessary bloat added by Elementor to your website. So make sure you subscribe if you are interested in that. And now, without further ado, let's go to our interactions. So I have prepared this layout where I have some elements. I have my navigation. I used the list, but I had to use three separate list widgets because I cannot assign a class or ID to one list item. So I had to use three, but you may use some other element like a paragraph, header, button that I'm also using here. Really anything you can assign IDs and classes here, and it will serve as our navigation. On the left side I have all the images plus the sign up form that I will be like hiding and showing. And this video might not be the shortest, but I will really make sure that I explain every single step. So to start, we can see here, we can preview the website and we can see that we see everything. And we don't want to see everything when you load up the site. So I have prepared this CSS snippet that when we assign a class hidden to any element, it will give it opacity of 0.6 on the back end or when inside of the element editor, and just completely hide it on the front end. I could have used just the hidden and just display none, but then it gets annoying because I don't see it in the backend or in the editor mode either, and I need to use the navigator in order to find those elements. So I think like this it's more practical. So let's give the class hidden to the elements that we want to hide at first. So this would be the first step. So you can see when I update it now, the preview is only showing the initial image, but nothing else is working. That's alright because there is nothing set up yet. So as a second step, we will add other classes to and IDs to these elements so that we are able to target them. We'll be able to say like, hey, like 01 hide, 02 show. I will give this a class. I will call it changing image. So that I can also target all of them. So new image, and this is 02, 03, also changing image. This is not exactly an image, but bear with me. And this will make no difference on the front end, so I will not even save it. We can already dive into some code. I will use the Elementor custom code, but even if you are not in Pro version, this will work, and you will just need to install some plugin to add your custom JavaScript code, just like custom CSS JS plugin, but I will take advantage of this option here. So I will call it custom interactions. And as we are using JavaScript, let's put it down the page. And we will need to specify that we are using JavaScript. So we'll open and already also close the tag JavaScript. And I don't use this, like I don't work with this all the time. So sometimes I don't remember the syntax either. So I just like to go and search for it. So first we will need jQuery on document ready function. I can really just copy this and paste it here. You don't need to be afraid of making any mistake. You cannot break anything. Like the worst thing that can happen is that you will get an error in the console, and we can put this, we can specify this on entire site, will not have big impact, but if you're really picky about the page speed, you can only target the page that you are building this interaction on. I'll just save and close here. And what this little code is doing is that when it only fires when the page is loaded, and will tell us that it's ready in the console. So let's go and check to see the console. You can go to inspect console, and we can see that we got an error, and I saw this, I knew it would come, and I really wanted to show you that you are in a safe space. As we are using WordPress, we cannot use this $sign for jQuery, but we really need to say jQuery here. So now if I save this, reload here, we got a message ready, so we know it is working. But we want to go a little bit farther. What we want to do is we will target our navigation, and when we click on some of these items, this image will change. But in order to identify that we clicked on it, we also need to assign it a class and an ID. So ID will be, let's use show 01, it's for show the first image, and class it would be, can call it our nav for navigation. So here it will be show the picture 2, and our navigation again, show 3, navigation, and show 4, navigation. Now we can go back to our code and substitute this for saying that when we click on the element, something will happen. So let's search for jQuery click function. Okay, we can, and it's quite clear from this code what it does. So we will substitute this alert, this console ready, because we don't need it anymore. Let's clean it up a little so we know where the command starts and where it ends. And what this will happen is that when we click on our target element, it will give us an alert and we will know it worked. But we need to change this target to our ID. So we need to change it to show one. And when you are targeting, you need to specify whether it is class or ID that you are targeting. That's why we need to leave there this hashtag and just change target to our show one. We'll update, refresh here, and here we got another error again. An error. We need to change the jQuery. There is also another way how to do it, but to keep things simple and also for you to remember this can happen, I will be always rewriting it to jQuery. And let's see now. And now no error. And when I click, I got this pop-up. It's telling me that the click was detected. So now we don't want the alert, but we want to target again with the jQuery command. We want to first hide all the images, just hide all of them. So I will put we called them the changing images, and this applies to all of them. All of them have the same class. So I will target the changing images or image, and I will just simply hide. If you're not sure about the command, you can Google for jQuery hide. This will come up. Need to put the dot here, and this will hide all of them. We can preview it to see what this does. And now we hit all of the images, even the first one. That's partly what we want to do, but we also want to make sure that the one that belongs to the navigation element gets visible. So we can target just this one, which would be again with jQuery, and we will target the one that we give him ID 01. You can check it here, what I'm talking about. It's 01, it's the ID of this element. So this one, we will say that we will show this one. It's a function, so it need to be parentheses and semicolon to end the command. And we can again check what is happening. I load it, so it will come back. We have no error. And now I click on the first one and absolutely nothing happens because it's already shown. So we need to take the same code and we can extrapolate it for the other navigation item. Let's clean it up a little. So we extrapolate, do the same, but for the second, this is just when clicked on the second navigation item, we hide all the images and we show the second one. And let's just see how it works. We'll only be working for the first two items, but it's completely fine and enough for us to see what is happening. So nothing happens, and voila, we can be switching between these two. But it would be cooler to have some kind of little animation, and jQuery already has some alternatives to these hide and show functions that animate a little. So like we can use like slide toggle, but I think here it will be better to use fade toggle. and instead of show, so it will do this basically the same, but give it a little bit of a fade when coming up. So let's make sure it works before we continue changing the code. And voila, we have a nice fade. You can specify you can search for jQuery fade toggle, and you can see that you can specify if you want it slow, linear, ease in, ease out. You can add more parameters, but let's keep it simple in our example. So now we can simply just copy paste it for the third navigation item and for our button. It could be done actually simpler in a more efficient way, writing less code by passing the ID of the element we clicked as a parameter to see which one we will show. But we would need to use another variable, and it would make it all a little bit more complicated, and I think like this less code efficient way will give you a little bit more of space to practice and understand how this all works. Just a little disclaimer, but this is, in this scale, it's perfectly fine to just copy paste the code and adjust the indexes. So 3 to show the 3 and here to show the 4. So we're basically almost done, or if you're in our implementation, you might be completely done. And here we have a little issue that I also wanted to point out, that when you are using buttons, you need to remove the link, even the hashtag, so it doesn't jump on the beginning of the page, but only does what it's supposed to do. Wait for it to save. Voila. And so now click on this one. You can see it works. Also here we have the sign up form that ideally the visitor will like this interaction, like these people being all happy about and excited about JavaScript, and he will sign up right away. So we might be even considered this being done, but if you remember in the beginning I showed you that we can indicate which one of these navigations are active and kind of suggest it's a navigation by underlining the active one, and we will be using completely same concept and extend our code just a little bit. So we'll need to, let's start in Elementor and give this first one also class active, or better call it my underscore active, because the class active could be already used for the same thing by some plugin or something on your website. So let's give it also class my active, and all of them they have the class our nav. So let's go to the CSS and we will add for the nav we will give it, come on, cursor pointer property, so that when we are pointing at it we have this little hand to suggest that it's clickable. And for our nav my active, we will give it a property of text decoration underline. I have a little mistake here. It will be like this, and because they are right behind each other there will be no space. You can see the first one is underlined, So we can again update. So now the first one is active and it's already underlined, but it's obviously not changing because we didn't explain in the code that it should be happening. So let's go back to the code and we want to again take very similar concept to this one, this line, that is always hiding all the images before we show the particular one we want to show. So we can even copy it, but we will change the target to our nav, if I'm not mistaken, yes, our nav class. And instead of hide, we will not be completely hiding, but we will be removing the class that's telling it it's active. So it's straightforward as it can be. Remove class and active here without the dot, because we are already talking about class, so don't need to cannot say the dot active, just remove the active. And also, so we will remove it from all the navigation items, and we want to give this active class to the particular item we just clicked on. So it will be the hashtag and show underscore 01, because we clicked on this ID, this element with this ID. So to this one we will add this class, and again very straightforward, active. So we add this active class to the one that we clicked on. This wouldn't do anything again because it's the one that already has it when the page loads. So we will go ahead and copy it to for the other elements. I just need to make sure I change these to 2. And for the 4 we don't really need the underlining, but it will not be working. It will not underline it either way, so I can just go ahead and put it, but we still need to make sure that we remove the active from the other navigation items. So let's check how it works. So load it. It loaded with this one active because we are showing the first picture, and for some reason it is not working. Of course, because I called it myActive in the end, so I need to add here, change it to myActive. And update. And now it is working. So I hope you enjoyed this little demonstration. Don't be afraid to play with it, because as you can see, you cannot break anything and the browser will tell you basically what's the problem. If you write something wrong in the JavaScript, and there is nothing that can happen to your website in general, and then if you remove the code, everything will be back to normal. And yeah, in the next video I would like to bring this little farther. I would like to create a filtering, completely custom filtering for dynamic content, present it like this. It will be a little bit more complex, but also more fun to build. I also want to say that I'm using jQuery here because I find it easier to explain and grasp. But in case you want to invest in it further, I would recommend switching to vanilla JavaScript, because if you are to learn something from zero nowadays and you want to bring it a little bit farther and become something like front-end developer, it is much more popular, it makes more sense. because jQuery is already in WordPress, so why not to use it? But in applications where it is not there, there is no reason to bringing another library like jQuery to the project when you can do it by native JavaScript. So it's just a little explanation on that. And yeah, I also want to thank you for all the support and all the new subscribers. If you are interested in any of this stuff and you are not subscribed, please hit that button. It really helps the motivation of sharing all this stuff with the world. And again, thank you for watching up until here, and I'll see you in the next one.